Hey Peeps, welcome to another video. Today it is my January lookbook. I was quite prolific in January. I didn't do a specific January plans video, and I did that intentionally because I kind of wanted to have this month to be a month where I kind of just made things that sort of sprang to mind kind of thing. And I have made a variety. I've made one bag, 2 coats, 3 woven dresses and 4 scuba dresses, so 10 things in total, and I'm really pleased with all of them. There are a few faults with some of them which I will talk you through when we get to them. So the first one is this sew over Eve dress with long sleeves, long bishop style sleeves with elasticated wristbands. These sleeves I stole from the McCalls 7537 pattern. The rest of the dress is the sew over Eve dress exactly as I make it every single time. I think I've gone into detail about this, but I do a straight size 10 to the waist and then I grade from the 10 to the 14 at the hips. I've added 2 inches of length to the skirt because I prefer that length on me, although the skirt is quite long. I'm 5'8" just for reference. I burrito the yoke, so instead of cutting 2 yokes I cut 4, and so the inside of this is the fabric as well, so I burrito the yokes. That's because I prefer that finish. I French seam the entire dress and put a buttonhole in at the side. I can't remember which side it is, I think it's this one, instead of leaving a gap in the seams, which I did do for my first one, but I prefer French seams. And I use bias binding around the entirety of the neckline to finish that off instead of overlocking, because again that's my preferred finish. I love the Eve dress. I have a lot of them. This is the first one that I've done with long sleeves, and I wanted to be able to wear it at this time of year, and I haven't tried the fitted 3/4 length sleeves that the Eve dress pattern comes with, but my experience of longer fitted woven sleeves is that I can't get my arms up very far, and I find it really restrictive, and I don't enjoy wearing those dresses. And they're some of the ones that were the first to go to the charity shop from my wardrobe. I did have this idea and then somebody else executed it first, and I saw it on the Sew Over It Instagram feed, and somebody had put bishop sleeves on their dress, and it was just like, yep, I was right, it looks awesome. And it took me probably about a month or so to get around to actually making this dress, but I'm really pleased that I did. This fabric is from the textile centre. I had 3 meters of it because I was intending to use this for the sweetheart dress, but I wanted to, again, to put these sleeves on the sweetheart dress, and the pattern calls 3.5 meters of fabric with the shorter sleeves, and yeah, it didn't quite fit onto this one, which was fine. So this was kind of like an unexpected dress because I already had the fabric out, I'd already ironed it, so I was like, you know what, let's make an Eve dress out of it. So I got the Eve dress out of 3 meters with the longer sleeves, and it's 150 centimeters wide. One of the fabrics that I have coming up was 140 wide, and I couldn't get these sleeves out of that, but I did get the flutter sleeves out, so it was fine. But yeah, I really like it. It's a viscose. It does wrinkle. It is a little bit wrinkled now because it has been hanging in my wardrobe, and I wasn't going to iron it for this video because if I had to do that then the video probably wouldn't have gotten made. It's really hot up here again today. I think we're at 23 degrees. I have the windows cracked, I have the balcony doors cracked, and I am baking, which is another reason that I won't be changing into every single dress that I've made, because I've already done that for the 12s and that made me really hot. So I will be doing the same thing that I did last month, which was to show you the item. I'll hold it up for you, and then I will I'll do obviously the cutaways of the 12s, and then I will put a still up here of the item that I'm talking about. This dress is awesome. I could definitely wear one of my roll necks underneath this, and there are a few options. There's a kind of like a sort of a tan colour in the flowers which I could pick out and then sort of pair some boots with that. Today I've worn it with my navy over the knee boots, which are beautiful but very high and very tight. So I do really like them and I like how it looks, but they are not something that I would want to kind of walk around all day in because they're very high. I definitely need to find myself some black flat over the knee boots, preferably in a suede, because I prefer suede to leather. So yeah, if you guys have seen any of those about for a reasonable price, let me know, because this also has black in it as well as brown and the cream and then the really pretty blue. So yeah, I love this dress. I think it's awesome. I'm so pleased I made it. There will be more of these with the longer sleeves made because it's just something that I can wear at this time of year as I say, layered up, and then sort of in spring it'll be something that I won't need to worry about having a cardigan over. And the Eve dress with the fluttery sleeves, which I have made one of, I can't really put cardigans over it. Well, you can, but you end up with sort of like bulges here, and then also because I tend to make my Eve dresses out of viscose, the sleeves would get really wrinkled when you came to take your cardigan off. So yeah, I'm pleased with this. I like it a lot. There will be more. Next up, I'm going to show you my kind of, it's meant to be, it's inspired by the Dior book bag. This is an experiment. I kind of drafted and came up with this pattern by myself. I really like it and I'm using it daily. I obviously embroidered my name on it instead of Christian Dior. I have actually lined mine. The Dior bag is not lined and it is French seamed, and that's why there are those lines of stitching down here. And that was something that I would have liked to do, but it got very thick very quickly because there's Decoville and foam in here, and I don't think I could have done the stitching in as precisely and beautifully as I would have liked it to be. So I haven't stitched that at the moment, but it is something that I would like to do. I've also put a band of Decoville around the top to help the top keep its shape, and then I dropped the lining in and I have just top stitched that into place. I think I'm actually going to go around and do another line of top stitching just at the bottom of the band of Decoville, because it does kind of tend to roll to the outside. I did make the lining 1/4 of an inch smaller than the outer fabric so that it sit in fairly well. As an experiment, I'm really pleased with this. This is fabric that I picked up in Ibiza. When I saw it, it immediately reminded me of the Dior book bag, and I thought I could create something similar with this, and I'm really pleased with it. Like I say, I use it every day. Before that, I was just using a fabric shopper to take all the bits and pieces like my camera, my computer, power cables and things from my house down to the main house when I go down to work. I now use this instead. I mean, I would take this out in public and use this in public. It is a fabric bottom. It does still have stuff in it. It has got a fabric bottom. So I would be worried about that getting dirty. I might put feet on the next one that I do, because you guys have asked for a tutorial for this. It's a very simple bag, but I'm very happy to do a tutorial, and I have some amazing blue themed tapestry fabric that I'm going to make it with, and I also have that fabric available for sale up in my shop as well. So yeah, I really like this. I think the only thing that I would change is I would make, the handles are a perfect size as is, but there's not a lot of the handle that's gone in here, so I would make the handles a little bit longer and reinforce them a little bit better into the lining itself. But yeah, I'm pleased with that, and that is the only bag that I made this month. As I mentioned, I have made 2 coats as well. One of them was for me and one of them was for small girl type creature. I shall talk about hers first. I have one clip of her wearing it, and it's a slow-mo clip that her boyfriend took for me, so I'm going to insert that here. This is a mashup of this Lacala pattern and this McCalls pattern, so it's the bodice from this one and the skirt from this one. It's also an exact replica of the red coat that I made myself a couple of years ago. Leanne's coat is much better made. I have interlined the wool. The wool is from Sewn fabrics. It was 100% wool. It's British made, so there's a little label in there as well that they sent with the wool, and I've sewn that into the coat too. It's better made than the last one. I've interlined it. I have put in, I mean, with the red one I did put in shoulder pads and sleeve caps and a backstay and things like that. I just didn't interline it, so the fabric is kind of, it's more of a it's a very lightweight wool, and it didn't, yeah, it needed to be interlined, but you'll see that in a minute. Yeah, Ree's coat was a long time coming, but I'm really glad that I waited as long as I did, because I know more about coat making now than I did when I was actually gonna make it for her, which I think was 3 Christmases ago. That girl waits for her Christmas presents for a long time, but when they arrive they are good ones. So I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. It fits her really well. That's one of the nice things about Lacala, is that you put in your measurements and it spits out a pattern that's designed for you. I did make a muslin. We made sure that it fit. I'm really pleased with it. I like the little touches that I added, like the martingale at the back, little sleeve tabs and the epaulets. I think that adds to it and it gives it a really nice look. This cloak closes with a fur hook, and that is intentional. That is how it's intended to close, so it's not too small. That is the actual intended closure. And for my one, I put brooches either side of the front waist seam. I don't think Ree's done that as yet, but I do recommend that she does. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how that coat turned out. And on the subject of coats, I have this green one that I made from exactly the same type of wool as my red coat, which I got from the textile centre. And this one, I learnt my lesson and I have interlined it with green cotton flannel, and it is incredibly warm. It's much nicer coat to wear than my red one because there's some weight to it. It feels warm. That's another reason that I'm not putting it on, because it is incredibly warm. I'm really pleased with how this one has turned out. Having said that, I don't think I would make this coat again. It's the Butterick 5824. I think I have that number right. It's a Gertie coat. The pattern is great and it's well written and it's put together well, and the sew along is great. There's a sew along on Gertie's old blog for this coat. But the thing I don't like is the grown on sleeves. Because of this grown on sleeve, you end up with a lot of fabric bunching around the underarm, and it's something that everybody who's made this coat has commented on, and it's just one of those things that's just doesn't appeal to me. I love the skirt, I love the shawl collar, and that's a good thing because Gertie has released the princess coat, and it is exactly the same collar as this one, and same collar construction. They have darts in the collar here, and she has tweaked it so it now has princess seams instead of a darted bodice, and it has set-in sleeves, which I am really excited about. So I am going to order that pattern today. It's going to be sent to the lovely Erica because shipping to the UK is ridiculous. It's not ridiculous, it's expensive, but I know why it's expensive. But yeah, Erica is very kindly going to send it on to me, so with another box of things that she was already going to send to me, so fingers crossed it won't add too much bulk to the package. I'm pleased that I made this because this wool, as I said, was very inexpensive. It was from the textile centre. I think it was something like $4.99 a metre, so I've got 5 metres of it. I also have this lining, which I believe is from Cotton Reel Studios. I said it was from Lamazi Fabrics on my Instagram, and it's not. It's from Cotton Reel Studios. I'm pretty sure I've got that right. And then I have finished the hem, and then the hem facing, which is something that I drafted for this pattern, but I think Gertie has a hem facing on the princess coat as well, because I didn't fancy turning this one up. Turning the hem on this one up. So I wanted some hot pink in there. Ideally, I would have run the hot pink as flat piping along the inside as well, but because of the way the neckline is constructed, there's no facing here in this neckline, which again is something that Gertie has added to the princess coat. So there's really sharp right hand turns or 90-degree angle corners here, so the flat piping wasn't an option that I would have felt comfortable doing well, so I left it out. But I really would have liked it to have a pop of pink in there. I thought that would have been really cool. The other thing I obviously did was add some black lace appliques that I had in my stash. I actually have a lot of these. I was intending to use them when I was selling my own designs. I was going to make a green large check gingham shirt dress and then use these on the bodice, and I still got to do that. There's some fabric I've been eyeing up on the Goldhawk Road since July. It's but it's red and cream check, but it's linen, so I think the next time I go I'm going to cave and buy that so I can make the shirt dress of my dreams with these on it. I don't know if you can tell, but I also added beading to the centre of all the flowers. Now I have got the bottom of one of these appliques is a little bit differently placed to the other one, and I'm trying to decide if it's going to bother me enough that I want to unpick it and re-sew one side, and I don't think it is, but there's no beading on there, so it might happen. And the other thing is that I'm thinking about continuing the applique along the back here. A lot of people did point out though that I wear my hair down quite frequently, and if I did beading along here that might catch, so I might not do the beading, but I'm thinking I'm going to add the applique along here. The original plan for this was to actually embroider the wool with green on green embroidery so that it would have some interest, but it wouldn't be in your face as much as this is. But I didn't have enough of this green wool to be able to cut the panels out that I'd need to hoop to then embroider, and I did flat mount them onto the flannel, which I'd cut as big panels, which I did have enough to hoop, but I wasn't confident that I would get the tension that I needed on the wool for the embroidery to look really good, and I didn't have enough green wool to experiment and see if that worked, and if it did, great, and if it didn't, then I'd have to unpick a lot of embroidery, which if anyone's had to do that, they know it's a nightmare, and it really doesn't do the fabric any favors. I really like this coat. This coat is too small for me. All the reviews that I read said that the waistline came out really big because the weight of the skirt stretched it out, and that they took it in inches. So I kind of just erred on the side of caution and made the size 10 instead of the size 12, and it is a little bit too small for me. It doesn't quite, you see I've got the press studs there, and they're meant to be one there and one there, so it doesn't quite meet at the center front the way it should. But for now, and as you saw in the cutaway, I am wearing it with a belt to kind of disguise that little flaw there. And if you've watched any of the waffles, you know that I am exercising again, and I'm also joined Weight Watchers so I can lose some weight. So this coat will fit me eventually, and I will wear it as is now because I really like it and it's warm. For people that were asking how I would keep warm in this, I would wear a scarf underneath this. I have one that's exactly the same colour as this. I also really like the idea of a bright pink scarf, which I also have. Yeah, I would wear a scarf with this, and then until the weather warmed up a little bit more so that you wouldn't mind having this area exposed. And also if I was wearing a roll neck and things like that, that would be another option. This wool is quite itchy, and so when I was wearing it with the dress I was wearing it with earlier, I noticed it on the back of my neck, so I think I'd always want a scarf with this one just so that it didn't have the itch factor. And somebody else asked if you could cut the collar on, because there's a seam on the centre back of the collar. Somebody else asked if you could cut that on the fold, and no, you cannot, because of the way that the pattern piece goes around to the front. If you cut it on the fold, then the pattern piece would fall off the edge of the fold of the fabric at the bottom, so you do have to put the centre back seam in, and that is why it is there. So yeah, I'm pleased with this. I won't make this pattern again. As I say, I'm getting the Gertie coat, the princess coat from Charm Patterns. This is a Butterick pattern. I'm getting that one to make my next one with the expensive wool. I mean, it wasn't that expensive, it was £12 per metre, but the expensive coating fabric that I bought from Goldhawk Road for a coat of this type, I'm going to be using the princess coat to make that, although that does mean that I need to make another muslin out of less expensive wool first to make sure that that fits me, but that's not going to be a problem. I have quite a lot of those kind of coatings in my stash. So yes, coat, love it, really love it. So next up we have this dress, which is the So La-Di-Da Sweetheart dress, and it's got the same sleeves as this dress added onto it, the sleeves from the 7537 pattern that I love, and I have made 2 of so far, but I will be making more. This was some viscose that I had in my stash. Again, it's from the textile centre. As I say, was initially planning on making it out of this one because I do a video series called Get the Look for Less, and there was this Reformation dress which I basically saw and went, oh look, that looks really like the Sweetheart dress, and it does to a degree. Having made this one up, I think this fabric might have been a bit more successful, but I didn't have enough of it. I had 5 meters of this one, and it was one that I wasn't overly precious about, so if it didn't work the way I wanted it to, because I've never made the Sweetheart dress in a viscose before, it wasn't going to be the end of the world. But I do like this dress. The Reformation dress does have a slimmer skirt, and obviously the thigh-high split. I omitted the split because I just thought that this would be more wearable without it. I do think this looks like the Reformation dress at the top. The sleeves are different, the sleeves are bigger on this one, but again, these are the type of sleeves that I prefer, so this is me going to be wearing this thing, so I needed to adjust it to the point where it would be something that I would be comfortable wearing. And the skirt on the Sweetheart dress is way fuller than the Reformation dress, but that would be very easy to slim down the skirt panels of the Sweetheart dress if you really wanted an exact replica of the Reformation dress. I am really in love with how this turned out. The bodice fits me really well. I used this dress as well to do a mini tutorial on how to French seam a princess seam, which is a technique that I learnt from the By Hand London blog, and yeah, I'm really pleased with it. It does have a facing. I hate facings usually, but I interfaced this with some really lightweight interfacing that a very lovely subscriber sent me from Australia. That stuff is amazing. Rather than use bias binding on the facing, I actually turned the raw edge under and stitched it down and stitched it down again so that it wasn't as bulky. I did use bias binding on the back seams here, and I also used bias binding on the hem. I did that on purpose. I wanted the hem to have a little bit more kick than if I had done a narrow rolled hem with the viscose, and I really like how it's turned out. I love the shape of this dress. Mum has used this dress for her dressmaker's ball dress, and she just elongated the skirt to make it into a ball gown. I think it's a really elegant dress, and I have made it in this fabric, and I've also made it in a stretch cotton. I'm thinking about doing a video about like the different types of fabric and how they can, your choice can affect how a pattern comes out. I think it would be interesting to see the same pattern made up in different fabrics and how different those fabrics look with the same pattern. So yeah, let me know what you think about that in the comment section down below. So next up I have another Eve dress. This time it's one with the fluttery sleeves. This fabric was a Christmas present from Wilson, and he bought me 3 meters of this from Sherwood Fabrics during their Black Friday sale, so I got another fabric with 5 meters of it as well. This one is a viscose. It's incredibly lightweight and very, very sheer actually. Although, given that I'm going to be wearing this in summer, I don't think that's a problem. I have slips that I can wear, or large underwear. I really, really, really like this one. I can't decide if the background of this is like a dark navy or a washed out black. I've worn it with the navy boots and I think it works. I'm not sure. This one, I had intended to put these sleeves on it, but this fabric was not 150 centimeters wide, so I'd squeezed out the flutter sleeves from this. I had tiny scraps left of this, not even, I don't think, enough for a yoke facing for a shirt, which is what I tend to keep these types of scraps of fabrics for, is those kind of things like the insides of shirts and stuff. I really wanted to get this one made up sooner rather than later though, because as I say, it was a Christmas present from Wilson. I might wear it over Valentine's Day because I think that would be romantic. I don't think we're doing anything for Valentine's Day, but I do think that it's a nice dress, and that it would be nice to kind of say, look, you know, you haven't just bought me fabric and it's sitting there, I've made something with it, or at least one of them, because yeah, there's more fabric. There's a 5 meter cut of another viscose that he got me. This is, as I say, it's the Eve dress with the fluttery sleeve. So I've talked about this one. This one is constructed exactly the same. I think you can see on the inside there, it is all French seamed. I have got bias binding going all the way around the front edge. I like this. The pattern also instructs you to put twill tape in here to make sure that this front neck edge doesn't stretch out over time, which I do. I really like adding the bias binding because I think that helps to stabilize the neckline. And yeah, I really love this. I think it's gorgeous. Can't wait for the weather to warm up a little bit so I can wear it without having to add a million layers underneath. And then finally, I made myself 4 scuba dresses out of all of the scuba that I had left in my stash. I do have one length of scuba that I think I only have 2 meters of. I didn't realise I only had 2 meters of it, and I was fully intending to make 5 of these. I didn't have enough for this dress, so that is the only length of scuba I have left in my stash. That's not quite true. I have a plain black one, which I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I'm not sure, because I don't think I'd ever wear a plain black one of these, because I like prints and colour and curtain fabric too much. Sorry Jackie, I had to. I have made the 8972 4 more times, so I have a total of 14 of these dresses now, and I promise I'm going to stop and move on to another knit pattern. I have a lot of knit fabrics left in my stash. One of the things I wanted to get done this autumn winter was get all of my knit fabrics sewn up. Having looked at how many I have left, I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm going to be filming my February fabric haul in a minute, and it's going to be knit fabric heavy. So I got this peony print. I think it's peonies, could be roses, it's honeysuckle definitely, but I got this from Fabric Styles. Mum really likes this one as well, so I bought 7 meters of this. Mum made exactly the same dress. It's the 8972, which I have done a sew along for. It is a woven pattern. I have smooshed it into a pattern that works for scubas and knit fabrics. I don't know if I did it correctly, but it works for me. I have 14 of these. I love them and I wear them. I'll put the link to that sew along in the description box down below if you're interested. I talk you through taking out the back seam, how to pick a size for the type of fit that you like, and then adding in the neckline and obviously the construction of this dress. So yes, peony one. Mum and I both have exactly the same dress now. I have this black pixelated lemons, which is again from Fabric Style. In fact, yeah, these are all from Fabric Styles. I really like this one. It was a print that I saw and fell in love with. I have enough of all of these fabrics left over, like scraps of these fabrics left over, to make swimwear with them, which I fully intend to do for my holiday in September. I am looking forward to that. So this next one is this bright marble effect. It's kind of like water marbling. Scuba, again from Fabric Styles. I have this one in the grey colourway, but when I saw that they did it in this really bright colourway, I had to treat myself because I love the grey one, but you know I love colour as well. So yeah, it's another one. And then finally, shockingly, this one's got leaves on it. Leaves and flowers. I bought this one as well because I was a sucker for the print. And it's absolutely gorgeous, and I'm really pleased that I finally got all those made up. I think I did exactly the same thing last January. I made all of the scuba dresses to try and get the scubas in my stash made up in the time of year that I like to wear those types of dresses. I know not everyone is a fan of scuba. Some people really hate wearing it. I personally really like wearing it. It is a polyester fabric. It's not a fabric that you want to wear anywhere that is going to be hot, because you will cook. You are in your own scuba suit. So it keeps you warm. For everybody that was asking if these dresses are warm, yes, they are very warm. I like wearing them at this time of year. I tend to have a slip on underneath and some tights, and then I'll put a cardigan over the top, sometimes a jumper, but the majority of the times it's a cardigan, and I find them very warm, and I enjoy wearing them because they are secret pajamas to the max. They look really fancy because they're obviously a very full skirted dress, but they are super comfortable. You can eat a large meal in them. They have the factor, so they kind of suck you in. I just love wearing these types of dresses at this time of year because it keeps me warm, looks good, and cheers me up, because those bright fabrics and colours are wonderful. So that was quite a long waffle about the 10 things that I made this month. Well, it's now February, so the 10 things that I made in January. Let me know in the comments down below which one is your favourite, if you have a favourite. Let me know what you guys have been sewing in January as well, and the types of things that you've been making, because I always love hearing about what you guys have been up to. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!